In August 1566, a Hungarian fortress called Szigetvár had something no army on earth wanted to face, a commander who had already decided he was dead. His name was Nikola Zrinski. He had roughly 2,300 men. Outside his walls stood the Ottoman Empire's main field army, at least 50,000 soldiers, with cannons by the hundreds, led in person by Suleiman the Magnificent, the most feared sultan in Ottoman history, now 71 years old, and carried in a litter because his body could no longer sit a horse.
Vienna was the real target. Szigetvár was supposed to be a pit stop. Suleiman expected it to fall in days. It took 33. Zrinski didn't have the numbers to win a fair fight, so he refused to give the Ottomans one. The fortress sat across 3 connected sections: Old Town, New Town, and an inner castle linked by bridges, surrounded by deliberately flooded marshland. There was no clean approach. Every street the Ottomans took, they paid for in bodies, fighting house to house against men who had nowhere left to retreat to and knew it.
By late August, dysentery was tearing through the Ottoman camp. Some accounts say it may have reached Suleiman himself. On August 29th alone, an Ottoman assault to finish the siege failed outright and cost them roughly 4,000 men in a single push. Suleiman tried a different weapon. He offered Zrinski the governorship of all of Croatia in exchange for the gate. Zrinski said no. By September, the mathematics turned brutal. Ottoman engineers tunneled under the walls and packed the breach with gunpowder. They lit it. Fire spread through the timber buildings and couldn't be put out. The wind was wrong, and the bombardment never stopped long enough to fight it. The outer fortress fell on September 5th. Zrinski pulled what was left of his men into the inner keep. Whatever was coming next, this was the last room they had. Then, in the middle of the night between September 6th and 7th, something happened that nobody outside Suleiman's inner circle was supposed to know. The Sultan died in his tent of natural causes, with the fortress not yet taken. This is the part that should sound made up and isn't. His own commanders had to pretend he was still alive. If 50,000 tired, sick, bled-out soldiers found out their sultan was already a corpse before the battle was even won, nobody could promise they wouldn't break and run. So the Grand Vizier, Sokolu Mehmet Pasha, sealed the death inside a circle of a handful of men. Messages kept going out under Suleiman's name. The secret held, not for 1 day, but reportedly for 48, long enough to get the army home and the succession settled in Istanbul before the rest of the empire found out their sultan had been dead the whole time.
Nobody inside that camp could afford for Szigetvár to still be standing when the truth got out. So on the morning of September 7th, with the keep on fire and the wooden drawbridge burning behind him, Zrinski did the only thing left available to him. He didn't wait to be overrun. He opened the gate himself. With around 600 men still standing, every soldier he had left, he led a charge directly into the Ottoman ranks crowding the bridge outside. It wasn't a battle anyone expected to survive, and nobody did. Zrinski was cut down in the fighting. So was almost every man behind him.
But before he walked out that gate, he gave one more order. Somewhere in the fortress, deep in the magazine, sat the garrison's remaining store of gunpowder. He had it rigged to go up. The Ottomans poured into the captured keep, certain the siege was finally over. 33 days of mud, disease, and dead friends finally paid off. They were standing in the ruins, looking for plunder, when the fire reached the powder. The explosion killed roughly 3,000 of the soldiers who had just taken the fortress, a victory that turned into a mass grave in the same hour it was won. When the Ottoman command finally tallied what the siege had actually cost them, somewhere between 20,000 and 30,000 dead, a sultan in a coffin nobody could mention out loud, and an army too gutted and too late in the season to push any further, they turned around. Vienna, the real target, was never even attacked that year. It wouldn't be seriously threatened again for over a century. Historians still argue about how much credit one fortress deserves for stalling an empire. But the French statesman Cardinal Richelieu reportedly didn't hesitate to call it the battle that saved Western Europe. And whether or not he said it in those exact words, the math behind the claim isn't crazy. 2,300 men bought 33 days. 33 days cost an empire its momentum, its sultan, and its march on Vienna. They didn't win. They just made sure nobody else got to either.